Welcome back. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about wrestling today. WWE in the spotlight right now for releases. We know after WrestleMania season is done that there are releases, and this year is no different than the others that preceded it. A lot of names on the board. What's interesting is there are some wrestlers here who've had injury issues. There are some wrestlers here who have lost title matches in recent months. And it just feels like they're making room for wrestlers coming in. We always get excited about people coming in or coming back. And the reality is, you only have so much time on TV for so many wrestlers. And in WWE's case, they're trying to cut things down. Now, one thing that's being pointed out as well, and it's true, WWE made record profits last year. So when you're slashing jobs while you're making record profits, you're going to make some people upset. Tegan Knox, the former Tegan Knox, I guess, kind of sounding off about it on the formerly known as Twitter. Tegan Knox was let go, I think it was a few months ago, prior to Mania, and now these ones she says are just crazy, and some of them are. So looking at the list thus far, Shotzi just didn't have her contract renewed. Shotzi Blackheart is a wrestler that I've been a big fan of for a long time. I don't know why they never put a belt on her. I don't know why she always seemed to be the one that lost whatever feud she was in on the main roster. I think she's got a fantastic look. I think she's got the right personality. And I think the little mini tank thing she had going on, I think that was fun too. And she's good in the ring. You know, I'm not going to say she's fantastic, but considering how much of the wrestling now is about flips and gymnastics, actual wrestling talent, it feels like, is not being focused on nearly as much as it used to be. So I don't see that necessarily as a reason to release somebody. But the one that really surprised me is Cora Jade. Cora Jade is very young. I think she's still just 24. She's got a good look. She's got a good character. She can play a heel. She can play a face. And her wrestling, is it rough? Sure. But as I mentioned with Shotzi, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. I love Tiffany Stratton. I've got the Tiffy Time t-shirt. But Tiffany Stratton does botch at least a couple of times per match. And there are times where she'll do a move and you can see it doesn't hit, so then they go back to hit the spot again, which I think makes it look worse. I think when a wrestler's like, okay, that didn't hit, let's try that again. No, move on to the next part of the match, because now you're showing people this is what it was supposed to look like, but we already saw how you missed the first time. So now it looks even. Anyway, it just, wrestling looks way faker than it used to. And I say that as somebody who used to watch wrestling where you had people pretending to be from Russia, pretending to be from other foreign countries, and wearing ridiculous outfits and garb to the ring, but it still seemed a little more realistic than what we get now when it comes to the wrestling. Cora Jade, now under her other wrestling name, even mentioned a Gigi Dolan, who was released. And I don't understand the Gigi Dolan one either. I don't. I don't get it. I think Gigi Dolan has a lot of talent. But she said to Gigi, not us getting signed and fired together. So they were brought in at the same time by WWE and they were fired at the same time. Dakota Kai seems to be the one that people are most rallying around, and rightfully so. When Dakota Kai had a shot at the title, I believe it was the Lyra Valkyria one she was getting a shot at, I wanted her to win. I did. I was like, you know what? Dakota would be a person that you wouldn't expect to win a title. I think she'd be good with it. And famously, she had that heel turn at War Games in NXT, which to this day is one of the most brutal heel turns I've ever seen. And it was done in a safe manner. But man, that is a heel turn of heel turns. And sadly, we never saw any of that viciousness on the main roster. We never saw any of that. Even when she was a heel, we never really saw that side of her which she's capable of producing. So, a shame to see Dakota Kai go, and I guess this means Damage Control is just done. We haven't seen Asuka in months, and Kairi Sane has been off for, and they've both been dealing with injuries, which just leaves Io Sky. So, yeah, I guess Damage Control is done. Shayna Baszler being released, I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed in that Shayna Baszler was so badass on NXT. She was just absolutely, And the thing was, she was a good heel. She was the one that I wanted to see her lose because you're supposed to be rooting for the faces. But when she'd win, I was like, you know what? She's legit. Shayna Baszler is legitimately tough. And if they'd put her in a match against one of the male wrestlers and she'd won with a choke, depending on who the wrestler was she would have beat, I would have been like, you know what, that's legit. One thing with Baszler is it feels similar to the Big Show. The Big Show was a obviously large wrestler, right? And in a legit fight, probably would have beat up almost everybody else in the locker room, I would think, based on size alone. When Big Show lost to Spike Dudley, who was 150 pounds, that was it. You could never have Big Show as a main eventer in my mind after he had lost to Spike Dudley. And Shayna Baszler, much like Big Show, she puts other people over. And she has never been shy about putting other people over. And reportedly, she was backstage in NXT working with wrestlers on things very, very recently. So Baszler, I feel like, is too nice. She's too willing to put people over and have other people look good. And so it probably hurt her, right? Brock Lesnar isn't known for that, for instance, also being from the MMA world. And yeah, he wasn't exactly known for putting people over. And this is where that balance is there for wrestlers, where you want to put people over and make them look good. But if you do it too often, then you're out of a job because then you don't have that credibility. I feel bad for Shayna. There are matches she's lost over the last year where I have actually audibly said, what? Because she gets pinned for a 3 count, and I'm like, come on. There's no way that took out Shayna Baszler. Like, Alexa Bliss, maybe. That'd take her out, sure. But Shayna freaking Baszler, come on. So I hope Shayna's able to find her way into another wrestling company or move on. And I could see her legitimately working in the Fast and the Furious franchise, for instance. Because everybody ends up in a Fast and the Furious movie, right? So all the best to her. I feel bad because I think there was a potential there for her to be this monster heel and go on a really strong run on the main roster. And they screwed it up right out of the gate. The whole thing with her and Becky Lynch, they screwed that up right out of the gate. And just, yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, she never recovered after that. Braun Strowman being out, I'm not 100% surprised by Strowman. They've made Strowman look goofy in this run with the company. Not like he's, legitimately badass, just goofy. And he's still big and he's very strong, but he's just, he came across as too goofy this time out and not as a main eventer. So Braun Strowman, free agent again. I think it'd be very surprising. Honestly, I'd be very surprised if any of these people ended up in AEW because I don't feel like AEW is going to go on a signing spree either with the amount of airtime they have where wrestlers aren't getting on TV now. I don't think they're going to be picking a lot of these people up. Shayna Baszler probably would get a call, and apparently Dakota Kai has been fielding a lot of calls so far. Wrestling companies around the world. New Japan, I think, would love to have Dakota Kai come in as just as a for instance, right? But I think she's marketable no matter where she goes. Caden Carter and Katana Chance. I'm not surprised by these two. They had a good run in NXT, and as soon as they got called up to the main roster, they were fodder. They were just there to lose. Katana Chance is very athletic. She's also extremely tiny. And I've never found it believable that her crossbodies have any effect. If she's 100 pounds, I'd be surprised. And I think anybody could just catch her and just, just catch her in midair and just drop her to the mat. There you go, down there. But yeah, I'm not surprised. Caden Carter never really got a chance to have a singles run that I saw, which is too bad, but it's wrestling. As previously mentioned, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, out of a job as well. Most of these are women, but there are some men on the list as well. Jakara Jackson, I'm not surprised. Lash Legend is going to be a main eventer at some point in time. She's got everything you're looking for in an up-and-coming star. And so Jakara Jackson, her tag partner, becomes expendable, sadly. Because I think Jackson has talent as well. And they all do. And that's where it gets tough if you're the promoter, if you're the one making these decisions. Everybody's talented. I'm just surprised by some of the ones that didn't really get much of a chance to show on TV, anyways, what they could do. Danny Palmer, Javier Bernal, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Oro Mensa, because Gallus is gone, and Riley Osborne on the list as well. So I'm not entirely surprised, and I think we'll probably see more, to be honest. I was surprised we didn't see a ton when NXT UK was shut down, and it just became just regular NXT. I do wonder how many of them are going to end up in TNA under a different name. TNA and WWE have a working relationship, and Cora Jade had some matches in TNA, which I thought was odd. I did. I thought, so why is she going over to TNA? And I guess that might have been part of it. So watch out for any wrestler that's going over to TNA for a match, because they might be trying out for TNA by accident rather than, going over there as doing a solid for WWE with their partnership with TNA. I would say of those on the list, Core is the one that I think is most likely to end up back in WWE and might be the most likely to end up in AEW, and I think they could build her up. I do. Saying that while if AEW could just stop screwing things up with the wrestling talent as it is, that'd be great. One of the reasons I haven't been talking about WWE much on this channel either is I'm not happy with the booking, and it's Mania, and then it's after Mania too. You had the shock turn, right, by Paul Heyman. That kind of saved that WrestleMania weekend because the rest of it was kind of meh. And now when you look at Backlash, you got Orton versus Cena. This is the first time they've faced off for the title where Cena's the bad guy, but they've faced each other a lot. So the good news is they've got good chemistry and they know how to work together. The bad news is we've seen it a million times. Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. WWE's valiant effort to make Becky the heel and Lyra the face. I don't know that fans will ever cheer for Lyra over Becky. I feel bad for Lyra because her character has been non-existent. Her character, it seems to me, has been, look at me, I'm from Europe. I'm different. There's nothing. There's nothing in her promos that I've seen. The promo she cut this week was okay, right? But I haven't seen anything from her yet to make me want to get behind her, and they put a belt on her. She's got the Rocky Maivia treatment. She comes in, she gets a very lukewarm to, if any, reaction at all from the crowd. Very, very little. And now she's got a belt, which makes fans resent her because they're like, what did you do to get that belt? Why? And now she's against Becky Lynch, a wrestler that whether you love her or hate her, she generates a reaction every time. So this could be a disaster. Even if Becky's looking to put her over, this could be a disaster. This could be fans turning on this match. So that'll be an interesting one. Pat McAfee versus Gunther. Shouldn't that be on Raw? I'm honestly, and I know McAfee cut a fire promo this week, but shouldn't it be on Raw? Like, it's Gunther. It's the former world champion. He's not losing to Pat McAfee. He's just not. I've seen reports that they're considering having him go on a losing streak and have some sort of a crisis of self and start to doubt himself. I hope not. He's been the ring general for years. And if they start monkeying around with it and making him look weak, remember what I said about Big Show. You start putting guys over, you start laying down and taking those 3 counts, and all of a sudden, you become the guy. The one that they're like, okay, this guy's going to be in the main event, so you're going to go in and put him over. And you still get paid, but it just makes everything more difficult. And then you've got the U.S. title 4-way match. Apparently the women's is going to be a 4-way match too. You've got, it's not confirmed yet, but it's going to be Naomi, Jade Cargill, and yada yada yada, and Tiffany and Nia Jax, and we'll see how that goes. My guess is that you get 3 women in there because Tiffany's going to be jumping off the top rope and doing flips constantly. So having 3 women to catch her is safer than having one, because if you haven't seen some recent Botchamania type stuff, and I say that without having watched Botchamania videos on it, but there's no way they're not showing Tiffany and some of those moonsaults she does. The world's prettiest moonsault. A, there's times she misses it, and B, there's times she does a jump off the top rope, and she doesn't get caught very well. So having 3 other women in the match means she should get caught relatively well. But the 4-way match for the men's U.S. title, not likely to feature as many big, huge flipping dives, but there will at least be a couple. I'm thinking Jacob Fatu gets at least one in there. He's keeping the belt, by the way. LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre in the match there. Along with Fatu, I figure what's going to happen is Knight and Priest end up screwing themselves out of it, and McIntyre ends up eating a pin from Jacob Fatu in some kind of skullduggery fashion, and then you have a fight between Jacob Fatu and McIntyre. And what's interesting with this is it does feel like the crowd is supporting Fatu. I don't think you can get the Samoan Werewolf boot at this point. He's just so fantastic. And what got me with Fatu, and what really surprised me, and it shouldn't because he's a Samoan wrestler, and of course, he's fantastic with promos. Soon as he got a microphone, he started talking, I was like, oh, they picked the wrong leader for the bloodline. Oh, and I like Solo Sikoa, but no. Jacob Fatu, he is a main eventer. He is going to be a world champion. At some point in time, we're going to have some sort of a feud between Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker, where they're just going through barriers and they're up in the stands and they're fighting all over, and it's going to be fantastic. The problem is right now I don't find the shows as watchable, and I haven't been nearly as invested in Raw or SmackDown lately, so I haven't been watching them and doing reviews. Now that the NHL playoffs are winding down to the point where now we just have 8 teams instead of 16, and it's a lot less hockey to watch, it'd be easier for me to have Raw playing while I'm watching a hockey game and just keep track of what happens and do a review for Raw or SmackDown. So I may start doing those again, but it's going to have to be an episode where I'm actually invested in it. And I haven't had a lot of that lately. It's weird. There's a part of me that feels like Vince is somehow calling the shots. Like, the booking has gone not right back to where Vince was, but there are just some things happening where I'm like, that seems like Vince booking right there. That doesn't, no. Like, there are so many DQ finishes. So, like, you invest 15 minutes of your time watching a match, and then somebody comes in and attacks both wrestlers, and, oh, it's a DQ, it's a no contest. Cool. It takes away from the product. I understand that if you get pinned 1, 2, 3, and it's a clean pin, then you end up in a situation which I mentioned with Baszler and with Big Show. But you don't have to have the same wrestler lose every week. You don't have to give them the Sami Zayn treatment. We'll see if WWE starts to figure out that all of these DQ finishes, like almost every match now in wrestling is either a DQ finish or a roll-up. Almost every time it's a surprise roll-up or it's a DQ. And so I have a hard time getting invested in the match when I know how it's going to end, right? So when you know the ending is going to be anticlimactic, it's difficult to get caught up. Like, you're not going to want to watch a movie over and over again if the ending is really disappointing. So you get really excited about it, and then the ending's just, why would that happen? Or that's dumb, or that's the same thing that happened in that other movie. And so with wrestling, there's definitely a lot of matches that are ending the same, and that's a problem. You want to have, like, I've talked about it with hockey, and I think with wrestling there's a similarity. I'll even put Rammstein in here too. So with all the hockey games and the hockey series I watch, what entertains me is every series, every game is different. Every game has its own personality. And with the Rammstein concerts I've been to, every song they play, they have different lighting, they have different pyro, they have a different show for each song, which gives every song its own personality in the performance along with the song itself. Every wrestling match should have its own personality. They shouldn't feel the same. Every wrestler should have a different moveset. And we're in an age now where it feels like a lot of wrestlers have the same moveset. They're doing the same things. And every time Simon Miller talks about like double axe handles and atomic drops and all these moves that wrestlers don't do anymore, it reminds me that there was a time where different movesets existed and different wrestlers did different things a little more than we have now. Now you have the big power guys, and you have the people who jump and do all the gymnastics. And you might have a submission specialist in there too, but I mean, occasionally, but usually the submission specialist is one of those two move sets as well. And so it gets kind of repetitive and kind of boring to watch. I like when there's a variety. When two wrestlers come out to the ring, and I know it's predetermined. I understand. But each match should have its own personality, and each wrestler, when they wrestle, should have their own moves. And I think sometimes with WWE, they are so focused on teaching wrestlers the WWE way of wrestling that it stifles creativity, and it makes it so every match kind of has the sameness to it. And that's a problem, at least to me. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding the releases, the build to Backlash, and whether or not you're excited about that. I was going to put AEW's Double or Nothing card on here too, but there's only 2 matches in their Owen Hart Cup finals. That's it. That's all we've got so far. We know there's going to be a bunch more, but it's only a few weeks off. So I think AEW needs to get at it a little bit. And please, for the love of all that's, I want to swear, I do. Moxley needs to like have some time off or something, because the whole Death Riders thing is just it's unwatchable for me. I don't have an interest in any of it. I don't care. Soon as that's on my TV, I'm like, done. I don't care. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're doing with Megan Bayne, but for me, it's not hitting either with AEW. So like Anna Jay and Penelope comes out and they hug, and I'm like, why? And then they beat up Anna Jay, and I'm like, but why? Didn't Anna just come back? Like that, and so Megan Bayne needed Penelope Ford to soften up Anna Jay so she could come out and beat her. Why? Like I didn't. The whole thing to me was just kind of, why do it this way? Why? If you're gonna do it, then have Anna Jay return and say, I feel good. All right, I'll do an open challenge. And then Megan Bayne's the one that answers the open challenge. And you get a Penelope come out and be like, I'm sorry, Megan heard this, and we're friends. We're friends, so we can't. And then she could do the turn. Then she could, slap her. Or while she's talking, Megan just picks Anna up and slams her down. Beats her up for a bit, and then Penelope can go on the mic and go, sorry, it's just business, nothing personal. I'm with her now, and take off. And then you set up a feud between, Tony, give me a call. But you've set up a feud for the future, and you've done it in a way that makes a little bit of sense, rather than Anna Jay beating up whoever it was she beat up in like 20 seconds to win a match that might as well have not even had it. And then the story, and it's one of those things. I watch little clips here and there of what's going on, and I'm like, I can't. I just can't. And please, for the love of all that's freaking holy, give Harley Cameron every title. Just do it. Just do it. Harley Cameron is so fantastic. But anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.